Games, board games, board games. I might be talking about board games, but I'm not gonna shout. Today I'm working on seize the power. For a while I will grow like a flower as I show the in ideas as I experiment and retype for years. Board games and seize the power, it's what I'm talking about. Board games and seize the power, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. 10 a.m.ish UK time, time for Bessie Beats and Board Game Blether. I am going to be pondering a few hidden objectives and other stuff for Seize the Power. And I guess this is a spoiler warning because if you want to go into the game once it's finished, and it will be finished at some point in the hopefully not too distant future. So if you want to go in and be like, oh, I don't know what the objectives even could be, then yeah, this is possibly a stream that you want to give a miss. But if you like the idea of watching me type stuff into a spreadsheet, then keep watching. Recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. So yeah, today, yesterday honestly, it wasn't a great day for me. I had been planning to go off my diet anyway, but I found that it didn't bring me that much joy to be like, yeah, I'm finally going to have the cereal. I've been craving like cereal with milk for ages. And rather than it being like a delight, it was like, oh, that's it. It's not like I'm feeling like I should maybe throw away some things like the Nutella and the sugary cereal because it's otherwise it's unhealthy and I will eat it more out of a sense of compulsion than out of a sense of enjoyment. And that's the truth. This morning, I put up a poll to say, hey, what do you think of these names for a possible game? What do you think of the name Stomp Bots or Robo Stack Attack or Mega Mashup or Growbots? The idea of the game is that you've got a bunch of cubes and you're wandering around a board. Oh, I mislaid the board. But it's basically a grid. One team starts here, one team starts here, and then you're trying to get all the way around. The first person to get all the way around wins the game. It's roll and move. But the twist is that you're able to combine your cubes into bigger robots, let's call them, and then if they're bigger, then you will stomp on the smaller ones and get them out of the game. And also, if they're bigger, then you block the smaller ones. And if they're bigger, then also when you move them, you move a little bit slower. And that's fundamental. And the final thing to mention is that you can also burn a lot of your cubes in order to increase the numbers on the dice up to 6. Hello to me. And that is the possible names on the games that I've been thinking about. So out of these 4 names, oh, whoops. Damn, I didn't mean to include the percentages there. That is, yeah, let me try to do that again. So, Robo Stack Attack, Mega Mashup, Growbots, or Stomp Bots. Which one of these do you think sounds the best? Robo Stack Attack, Mega Mashup, Growbots, or Stomp Bots? And it's dice rolling, it's moving around, but there's a little bit of thought. kind of like backgammon. Would one of these names, would any of them turn you off? Would any of them think, oh, that's what it is? And would any of them feel like, oh, I know what I'm getting into. I'm excited to play this. But let me know. Otherwise, what have you been up to? Let me know. And let's move on to the brilliant things. Brilliant things. What's a little thing which is brilliant? So, yeah, Seize the Power. It's a game that I've been working on. And if you look at the houses, you can see that there's a lot of stuff that's just been edited on the cards, and that's fine. And it's honestly, this is my favorite way to play test, just editing the cards directly. But at a certain point, you need to make a file. Why do you need to make a file? Because if you're working remotely, then other people can see the same file and be like, okay, that's what it's all about. And if you lose this one physical copy, then it's not like, oh my gosh, it's completely gone. It's on the internet somewhere, or it's on a computer somewhere, so you can share it and you can recreate it. Files are more reproducible, and so yeah, at some points it's good to say, okay, we've got this, it's fairly standard, let's type it all into a spreadsheet of some sort. And that's basically what I'm doing. Let's crack on with it. As I said, this is Seize the Power, and there is going to be quite a bit of typing noises, for which I apologize. New folder, Seize the Power, and let's crack in on there. New Google Sheets. That's what I want. So I bring that up. This is going to be Seize the Power card, and I'll give it to date 2022/07/22. So it's a reverse date, and starts off by doing all the house. So the houses are things that I've got here, and the houses currently they don't have any deposit. It has made the game a little bit simpler. I'm not sure that whether it's improved the game or not, but let's just put all the things into the spreadsheet. You've got the name, you've got the rent, you've got the effect, and you've got the prestige. Let's put that here. And I'm just going to type everything up as it comes. So the first step is really to just make sure that we've got everything accounted for. +3 employability. +3. Okay. Let's. Can I do that too? Okay. Cool. So if it's +3, then I need to add on a little thing. Okay. And we've got the castle with servants. Yeah, there's 2 of these, and they were previously quite different. And Free actions. So in this game, you're now getting 2 actions by default. And so something that lets you get, oh, that should be 7. Something that lets you get 4 actions is a big thing. But at the same time, I'm not sure it's too strong. This was a bit of feedback on when I was playing it in loading bar. They said, oh, 3 actions, 4 actions, it's so good that you just cannot balance this. And yet none of those people took it right at the start. And if I'm saying, yes, I would in future take the 4 actions straight at the start, then that's one kind of understood known action for one person. I don't see that as an issue personally. Sublet, 3 rent, prestige is 1, and free action, take a job. This was a really interesting design space that Rose and Luke have added on, where your townhouse for 3 can do the same job twice. Yeah, giving yourself a free action, but it's got to be a specific thing. That's really interesting, because how good is it if you are paying 2 and then you've got a third action, but it can't be whatever you want, it has to be this one thing. Well, that's only good if you would want to train anyway, but maybe it's really good, I don't know. Basic flat, 2, 1. That should be plus 1 employability, although we are going to increase the employability, and at this point I think that yeah, basic flat, it feels like it wants to be cheaper or better. Some, like in this game, you get 2 employability permanently for 5 money. And so if that was 2 employability temporarily for 2 money, I don't think that would be overpowered. Let's do that. Timmy says, I want pop so bad. I mean, it sounds like you've got an addiction over there, kind of, take care of yourself but, have fun. That's the thing, like, is it a compulsion or is it something that you're actually going to enjoy? And that's the key question. Effects +4 employability. Let's boost it up a wee bit. Let me see. I must become pop. I mean, that doesn't sound good. I mean, like, no, I mean, are you saying that you're going to have so much pop that your body just turns into pop, so you are a giant bottle of pop? Or are you saying that you want someone to pulp you up? Like, that sounds pretty dark, but turn you into things. Timmy says, soon my veins will be 90% pop. I will ascend into the pop heavens, into the become a god of pop. Sounds like I'm talking about pop stars. For free action, take a job, and +1 employability. And then historic. Yeah, free action take a job is definitely stronger than the +1 employability, given how many things give you employability. And this is the interesting thing, that this number of how much employability you get has to definitely be balanced along with the jobs that I'll be coming to in a wee bit. And what were we on? Why is that? Cozy flat, historic townhouse. I've already done that. Can do the same job twice. City garden shed. Let's. Okay, so there's the +1, there's the +3. Shed. Hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you, and I hope that you're generally well. Unfortunately, there is no Aquasulis here, but I do agree. I don't know if you saw the UK Games Expo have set up a new convention that's going to be in February, and Alex was the poster child for, for their proclamation. But hopefully we can all have a good time. I'm just posters of Aqua. It's not really a poster. Let me minimize this screen for just a moment, and I will Aqua Solis. Can't remember what Aqua. There we go. So UK Games Expo, the game industry convention, and there's Alex showing off a game to, I believe, Dave Digby, and that's actually a bit of news that maybe I should have commented on. I guess I should put general news into recent highlights that this seems like a cool thing. It seems to be very much focused on sellers, on distributors, on buyers, but I've got my fingers crossed that this becomes a worthwhile addition to the whole Nuremberg Cannes calendar. So anyway, so that is Alex Cannon, and I am working on Seize the Power. And currently there is no spoilers, but later on there might be. Prestige 2 plus free employability. Receptacle of respect. I do wonder if there's too many houses now, because that's 10 houses and counts as a rule. I mean, for playtesting, it's better to have too many and then go down rather than have the correct amount and then want to bring new stuff in. So let me try and organize these by cost. So on Tuesday, when I was sorting them out and trying to reorganize them, the first thing I did was totally ignore the costs that we previously had and think about what I felt the rough value of them was. So a free action to be able to train, that's fine, but you've only got 2 actions. So if you take that, then your second action is to train, and then your third action, because the training becomes a free action, then you get a job. And are you training enough times in the game to make it worth it? Because it's 1 action to go for the house. So the first turn you get it, there's literally no benefits if there's a free action. The second turn you get it, however, well, the second turn that you already have it, you just have it. So that means that you are up one action and you've spent 4 money on the rent. Does that feel reasonable? Yeah, I think it does, especially since it's forcing you to train. +2 employability feels reasonable. Free action, take a job is definitely better. Like most of these, I feel like, yeah, they are really good and they are hopefully worth taking at least one of them. And I've been surprised at how long it takes first-time players to realize, hey, wait, getting a house is actually a really good thing, even. And then, so historic townhouse can do the same job twice. That feels possibly overcosted. Yeah, this feels like maybe it should be a 3 and like if this doing the same job twice, just if that was 3 and that was 4, but then this was a little bit better. I mean, would +4 employability be overcosted? I don't know. Possibly. I mean, 4 is basically means that you've spent your action, you've saved 6 money, and yeah, that gets you onto the job ladder. But then second turn, you're now, yeah, actually, if you were going to train, this feels like a reasonable thing, unless there's cards that are particularly good at training. So I think that this actually could be, I think that might be approximately correct. Again, it's all contextual because in this game, it's one action to take a house, or it's one action to do training, and training gives you 2 employability for 5 or 3 employability for 10. So what this means is that your second turn, you're still got a benefit. By your third turn, okay, you've lost a little bit of money. Hopefully you might be able to get like the utility of money kind of goes down as the game goes on, so money is worth less, and by that time you've got a better job. And yeah, cozy flat, take a job, that's pretty good. +1 employability, is that worth 1 money? Yeah, I would say it is. Clock tower, +4 employability, that's fine. Free serve, this needs to be something different. Let's call it the space station. And receptacle of respect counts as a rule. Cool. And then why is this the prestige? It makes, I am going to leave the prestige as it currently is and give that a wee title, houses, and let's go to jobs. Or I did say that I would type up the secret objectives, unless someone doesn't want me to because they want to find out the secret objectives when they're actually playing the game. Okay, I've got just 5 of them from secret objectives. And yeah, it's going to be like effect 1 and effect 2. 3 points if you have 5 plus employability. One point per. So these are the two types of things. There's either stuff that is, I guess there's sorts of three types of secret objectives. You can get points if there's a certain thing, like if you've got 5 employability, you get this much, or if you have this kind of job, or if you've got this type of housing, you get this many points. The second one is something that's a little bit more unbounded, but actually has a sort of bound. Sorry, I'm just letting in Chris. So, yeah, the second version, for example, 1 point per neighbor, you have more. Sorry about that, peeps. That is Chris on their way up. 1 point per neighbor, you have more money than. So, like, even though the second effect can scale, there is a maximum, so it can only go up to 2. So clearly not very high. And then here you've got 2 points if you have a level 3 job, and 1 point per I rule. And again, these I rules, there's only 3 of them in the game. So in theory, you can only get 5 points from that. 1 point per hand rule. That's like the opposite. Hello, Chris.
Hey guys.
Typing up some things and showing people a bit of seize the power. 2 points if you have 3-star housing. That's not a rude word. That I've censored. That is literally just 3 asterisks because the housing has the prestige. Here it's 1 point per neighbor. You have better. What was greater or equal housing prestige than. Yeah, this prestige was added by Rose and Luke as an attempt to kind of make it another tag that we can then reference in other things. 1 point per 10 money. This is an interesting one because this is the one that's properly unbounded. Because in theory, you could have 50 money, or very unlikely to, but that is the kind of thing that we really need to keep an eye on. And finally, 1 point per yeah, that's 3 fists. Revolution started. I wonder whether these should be I'm going to say ITB edition. I wonder if those fists, like, maybe it should just be 1 point per 3 fists, so that even if you can only ever get one other person to join your revolution, then you can still do that 3 times and you still get 2 points for it. 2 points if 4 plus if you have 4 plus employability. One of the bits of feedback that I got was to ideally have more text to make it slightly clearer. And going to now look at some of the things that I put out. Oh, excellent. That's where that went. Okay. Let's look at where are my secret objectives? Can I find them? Maybe I can. This is where I admit that I'm very disorganized. Job. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the things about my secret objective cards is that, yeah, they were how should I was going to say they generally gave you a bit more points, and I'm looking and I'm wondering if some of them were accidentally left at the inside the box office. That is annoying. But that's the key part of the game, just having it out there. So, like, looking at the other things, points per money. What else have I written down? I've written points per money and points for having fewer jobs. The problem with having points if you have less than a number of jobs is that then it's not interesting, because saying don't do this thing is just not as inherently interesting as saying do this thing and keep doing this thing. 2 points per neighbor with over 5 training. I feel like this is an interesting one, especially since there's jobs that a job can allow you to train other people. I think this is good design space. So I'm going to type it up. Bez, and I'll 5 points if you have. I'm just going to write points because the number doesn't matter so much. Yeah, sure, we need to have it roughly in the ballpark, but what we want is to know what the cards are and to design the cards and then work out what numbers they should be, because probably all of these numbers are completely off. But whether it's 1 point per 10 money or whether it's 2 points per 30 money, fundamentally it's points per X money. And yeah, X marks the number. If you have X plus I icons on your power cards, and then that's also said at least 2 power cards need icons. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I understand why I wrote that, because I don't want to give so many points with just one card, but yeah, that feels a bit problematic. Maybe it should be fewer points and not have the second bit. X points per neighbor with over X employability. Writing down the X points per X jobs. Yeah, just get lots of jobs. That gives you a bit of guidance. X points if you have over X money. This is an interesting one, which I'm not sure if this is good or not. X points if you have exactly X money. So like that meant that at the end of the game, you need to really work out, I've got to give away my money. I've got to potentially give away like 2 money, or I need to work out exactly down to the last thing. But when you don't know when the game's going to end, that feels problematic. No, I'm not. But if you have less than, that might be interesting. Although again, you need to think about how these would interact, because having more money than your neighbors is now going to be super easy if someone wants less than a certain amount of money. Write a note. Think about interplayer interactions. X points per X fists on revolution cards you take. For the scalability, to allow it to go from 3 to 5, I think it's important that it's all about you or your neighbors, or the difference or imbalance than your neighbors. And what if one person wants to know more than their neighbors? Would that be interesting? Would that be terrible? Should there be more magnanimous things, or should there be more greedy things? I don't know. X points if you have X power cards that say whenever. X points per X jobs, we've already got that. X points if you've got over points if you have over X employability. Hello CD, it is lovely to see you. I hope you're generally well. And I am typing up and pondering out all the criteria of the secret objectives. So if you look at, for example, here, 2 points if you have 6 or more employability, and 1 point per 10 money. So I just trying to look at the core design, look at whether the core design space, what we can do within this game, and what else we can add. Is there other things that come to my mind? And I'm about to go through it in a fairly, how should I put this, somewhat rigorous, structured way to try and explore the design space, because the basic mechanisms are done, the structure of the game is done. Now it's all about working out exactly what's going on. And any game where you are bringing in secret objectives, that's going to change the game massively, of course. X points per X money. X points if you have over, look, X points per revolution. Oh, X points per revolution started by a neighbor. But I hope you're well, CD. What have you been up to recently? With neighbor over some employability, under a certain amount of money, we've already got that. Per fist on revolution cards you take. 1 point per thing about arms. I guess you could have per, and this is it's worth noting that recently we've changed the name of rule cards to power cards, because the rule cards are not, they are not always a rule. Card about arms. Just finished teaching a 2-day course. that sounds lovely. And prepping for a stream in 9 hours, that sounds fun. So that's tomorrow morning for you, I guess. Haven't streamed in a while. Like you were streaming as part of that tabletop gaming live thing, right? But yeah, if you have over certain money and X points per neighbor that you have X money more than. Okay, so we've got if I insert one row here to make it easier to count, we've got 12 options that I've written down. How did the 700th episode go? I enjoyed it, and I would absolutely do it again. I would probably like it to be about 20 minutes shorter, just so that it fits within the Facebook and doesn't glitch. If it were down to me, like the length would have been perfect. I'm just delighted, and I'm looking forward to the 800th. I'm continuing to enjoy things and enjoy streaming. It's just a way to kind of, sometimes work when other people are here. And honestly, I might have struggled to get out of bed if it wasn't about the streaming. That's the truth. Employability. Let's move all the things about employability together, the things about money together, the things about revolutions together, and let's see if any more ideas come to my head. Or I know you don't know the game very well, but if you have any ideas, then feel free to suggest something. Okay, power cards. So we've got power cards that went say whenever, about arms, about eyes. We could have X per power card about size. That could definitely be a thing. And hello, Yoda. It is lovely to see you. And so in this game, it's all about seize the power. It's a game about discrimination and bigotry and negotiation and subjugation of power. And I'm trying to take away the details to make it easier to ponder. So X points if you have a certain amount of employability. Yep, got that. And it should be if you have X or more. 1 point per neighbor you have more money than. I put that you need to have a certain amount more than, but maybe just saying you need to have more money. Yeah, let's move this to the less good. Yeah. And that's probably going to be 1 point, but it might not be. 2 points if you have a level 3 job. That might be a little bit too easy. So I'm going to note that on the side. Too easy to achieve. Because level 3 jobs are something that most people do get. Points per eye roll. Yeah. Points per arm roll. Power card about eyes. And it says, I was lurking and chatting with my refugee. She finally got a flat approved by the government and can move next week. That sounds amazing. And yeah, congratulations and good on you for helping to sort that all out. do. Too complex. I will. I know that it's weird to say 1 point per neighbour you have better housing prestige than, but what I'm wondering is it even worth having this housing prestige just for the sake of 3 cards in the game? Because it's another thing that you have to think about, and I don't know, it just feels a bit, yeah, a bit much, because there's so much else going on. I want people to really be focusing on the negotiation. And 1 point per certain amount of money. Yep, we've got that here. 1 points per if you have certain amount of employability. Yep, got that. And 1 point per certain quality of revolution started. Yeah, I prefer this to this one. Too easy to shut people out? That's the question. Let me just double check that the laptop is secure. Okay. So now we've got the specific stuff from ITB, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all lots of love, CD, and I hope you have a wonderful sleep, and I'll be finishing up in a wee bit. But first, now is the important bit to say, okay, you can have, what else can we add? We can clearly have this thing about here, although that's not quite as nice. If you have, this should be arm icons, and at least 2 of them need hand icons. Should the player need at least 2 such cards? That is a question. And hopefully it can be balanced so that you're getting enough points from the other thing. And then X plus power cards. That say whenever. Now, when I'm looking at this and thinking about how to balance it, I'm thinking that the top 6, the ones about power cards, are kind of easier to get just because that is how you win the game. Power cards are 1 point each. So this is basically giving you bonus points for those power cards if you per and so it's possible that we don't want to have so many. Points per employability, okay. Points per having a lot of employability, okay, that gives you a job. Something that you probably want to do, but that's probably okay. Per neighbor with over employability, I really like this one. Points per X jobs. Although the ones, again, that are about the neighbours, yeah. Should we have things about neighbours in the opening lot? That is the question. Points per having could be like, yeah, 1 point per job would be way too much, but like 1 point per 3 jobs, that would be fairly reasonable. And then also that means that it's pushing you towards a certain one of the houses. You in terms of the numbers, definitely want to think about what happens if you're just getting jobs and just ignoring the rest of the game. Are you able to win like that? Because if you are, then that feels problematic. And yeah, potentially can get 3 jobs per turn. Yeah, just putting it out there. And yeah, actually doing the job, it might not even be worth it. Well, I guess if it's 1 point per 4 jobs, but then maybe it feels like it's too hard to balance. Pushing you to do something interesting. That's what I'm fundamentally concerned about, because this is structuring your desires. And if your desire is just to get a certain number of jobs, then maybe it should be X points if you have X plus jobs. Feels better than the above. I mean, maybe X points if you have a certain number of fists, but again, you want at least one of them to be unbounded. And fists on revolution cards you take. Yeah, again, that feels marginally easier. And for things that are less exciting to do, because revolution is interesting, but if you're incentivized to just go revolution, revolution, revolution as my only action, then it feels like you want to bound that. Maybe the things that you want to not bound is, I don't know. Yeah, the power cards, which, or yeah, that feels like a big, deep-rooted problem that I need to mention to the rest of the team. Like, what unbounded things can we really have that are interesting other than the power cards? Maybe employability for your neighbor, that would potentially be an interesting one. Because if your employability was bounded, but employability for your neighbor wasn't, then, like, let's say you could only get, if you had a card, you could get points if you've got at least 5 employability. Okay, you're going to probably get that. But then with a different card, you get points for every 3 that they have. Okay, now suddenly you've got that teacher job becomes a lot better. And so, yeah, actually maybe the X points per X employability your neighbors have feels, yeah, it feels more interesting to get your neighbors' employability. because it feels taps into the whole negotiation, teaching, yeah. And then, yeah, maybe the jobs, maybe you should be, but you can't give your neighbours jobs, but you can give your neighbours cash. So if it was actually a point per some amount of cash that your neighbours have, that could be interesting. Yeah, I feel almost, yeah, quite, yeah, I feel like I want to. This is something that I'll have to ponder. I feel like I should put a pause on this because Chris is here and I don't think that I'm going to progress much in the next couple of minutes. So we'll have a drink. Oh my gosh. And at this point, maybe start winding down. Question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. So my question of the day is, what is the last asymmetric game you played? And who would you recommend it to? I'm trying to think if I've played a properly asymmetric. I guess I've played, except for Seize the Power. Yeah, played that on Tuesday. Except for that, it might be Root, which is from last year. Yeah, I think those might actually be the only two asymmetric, properly asymmetric games that I played in the past. Oh no, actually, I guess Drawn Together, my game about colouring where each person's going for different objectives. But what's the last asymmetric game you played? And who would you recommend it to? So obviously, Seize the Power, I would recommend it to people who want to explore the themes of discrimination and bigotry in a game. Drawn Together, I would recommend it to someone who wants to play a strategic game that's not about maths. It's actually about, it's strategic, but also about subjectivity. Roots, I would recommend to anyone who enjoys learning mechanisms, who enjoys learning how systems interact, is excited by interacting and potentially pounding down on people, and doesn't mind when their buildings get destroyed by someone else, is okay with that. So if you enjoy learning how systems interact, don't mind your stuff getting destroyed by your opponents, then I would absolutely recommend Root. And at this point, over to you. What are you up to? You can share a button if you want to. I absolutely need to go to the bank to cancel a thing. That is the main priority, to cancel a standing order. Other than that, postage, remaking this game, and yeah, making sure that the what's it even going to be called? My game about robots combining cubes. I put up a poll and I asked people to choose between Stomp Bots, Robot Stack Attack, Mecha Mashup, and Growbots. So if you've got a preference, let me know. But on Twitter, it looks like the popular vote is 45%. The second most popular vote is 29%. And with 55 votes, that's quite a margin. So I think that I should probably make a name for that. But anyway, today will be Chris's last day, which is awfully sad. But to recap and wrap up before we finish up, I wrote down a whole bunch of houses. I made a couple of tweaks, very small tweaks. The jobs will be done later, and the secret objectives, I'll get rid of that. Let me actually insert ITB. Yeah, it feels like, okay, we've got 11, delete that row. Starting with 10, we've got 21 options. Some of them are not as good, but that means that if we combine them, we can still get, 2 things per card, can still easily get 12 cards. I'm aiming for 15. I think that if we want a 7-player game, then we want I guess at least 2 per player to start off with. That's what I want. So yeah, if it's a 2-player game, then 14 might be fine. But yeah, I say 15 because then there's one that potentially no one even has the power to take, and if they're but yeah, if you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez in all the places. Check out stuffbybez.com/streams. I managed to get my website back up yesterday. That is my minor achievement. And of course, check out my Kickstarter and check out the contests. So there is the LDEC contest for the design and for the typography. And please do enter your draw something and put it down for the LDEC typography contest so that, yeah, we get at least some number of entries. For now, that is the end. Share, spread the word. Thank you very much, everyone. Lots of love. And as always, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone. Goodbye.